All right, let's try this again. Can you hear me, everyone? Great. Okay, so as I was saying, Thursday was Thanksgiving, which I believe is a unique holiday to North America. It's Thanksgiving in the United States. Thanksgiving in Canada is another date. So this is a complicated holiday, I think everyone knows. It's got lots of stereotypes and myths associated with it, a skewed history, handy versions of what was and what is. And I don't think we should ignore that. However, what we can do is take the opportunity to ensure that we focus on a meaning that is life-giving for everyone. And I think that meaning is gratitude. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk again about gratitude. So from a Buddhist perspective, gratitude is not understood to be me being grateful for things coming to me, but a recognition that these categories of me and things are in direct opposition to the way things are. So our world, according to our tradition, is a dynamic, interwoven whole, with each being living within and because of the activity of all being. So that dynamic whole is fundamentally who we are. The Japanese term on expresses this. So it includes both a sense of gratitude and also a desire to repay others for what we have been given. So this isn't a statement that we should feel grateful. Like, it's not a preaching lecture about how we should be. It's a recognition of reality as it is, and a desire to awaken to that reality and to give back. So this on is present in any circumstance, no matter what, and in every part of our lives. Cultivating and expressing this spirit of on is not just a nice thing to do. It actually changes our world. How we see it, how we experience it, how we live in it, and it impacts everyone and everything else. It also centers us in our lives and supports us to act from that center with clarity and purpose and an access to joyfulness. It engenders a spirit of being embraced and sustained, and allows us to recognize and deepen our sense of community with every aspect of our lives. So, as you all know, in our Zen practice, we're taught to grow and understand that the phenomena of the world are not there to serve us. They have a life and a beauty of their own. In other words, we are not the center of the universe. So this is essential to the spirit of Om and to cultivating an accurate sense of gratitude. When we orient in this way, we become curious and alive to the other. The other is not alien to me, not separate from me ultimately, but it also has its own life, its own trajectory, its own unique movement. It's important in its own right, alive in its own right and worthy of our respect. So when we, the times that we wake up to this, the door to gratitude opens and we can step through it with gratitude and live life with all beings. We don't dismiss or denigrate our lives or any other life. Instead, we orient ourselves with wisdom and compassion. And it's both very, very simple and alive to the complexity of the world. So we can cultivate this orientation in life and practice. We can attend to our lives. We can respect every aspect of it, every living and non-living being. And we recognize how this shifts our attitude and our experience. For example, how do you hold things with your hands? How do you eat and drink? How do you care for your clothes, your living space? How do you regard your neighbor? How do you regard a person you have difficulty with? So this isn't something we force. We include everything, even the times when gratitude feels very, very far away, when our behavior seems thoughtless. There's nothing in our life that's excluded from when we can do this practice. So day by day, we return again and again to 3 simple steps. Number 1, pay attention. Pay attention to your life. Pay attention to how you pay attention. Not forced or harsh, but clear and kind. So, number 1, pay attention. Number 2, regard each thing, each aspect of your life as expressing its own nature, with its own life and arc of existence. So, number 2, attend to each aspect of your life as a living entity that's coming forward. Number 3, cultivate a spaciousness in your mind and heart that allows gratitude some room to breathe, to come forward. So we repeat this same practice each day, many times a day, in many different circumstances. And when we do, we learn something. We are changed. These simple steps over and over and over. So it's a kind of repetition. And what we learn, as I've talked about before, is when we attend, regard each thing, each being, each moment as having its own life and contribution. We make space in our minds and hearts, and we are willing to be taught. We see the uniqueness of each moment and each phenomena, and we know that we are given what is. When we do this over and over and over again, we discover that there's always something new. This is very important. This sense of returning again and again to what seems like the same thing. We can think about it this way. If we sing an old song, something we've heard many times before, maybe it's something we grew up with, like maybe it was our parents' music. I have songs in my head and I go, where did that come from? Well, it's because my parents were listening to that music. It was my music in a sense, but I grew up with it. Or something that has meaning for us. When I was at Tassajara, I would get these really weird songs that would go through my brain, or commercials. But always it had some I would think, what's that about? And it always had some meaning. I said this before, but when I was working in the kitchen at Tassajara, the song that kept going through my head was "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." You know, can you imagine Cyndi Lauper in the kitchen? Isn't that her name, Cyndi Lauper? Yeah. Or say we're chanting the Heart Sutra. We're here in the morning, we chant the Heart Sutra. You could say that it's a repetition, right? It's the same words, maybe the same people, but it's also new each time. It's a carrying on of a deep stream of practice, an echo of what has been, and ascending forth into reality, what is. Each configuration of bodies, breath, tone is a repetition, and it's completely new. We rediscover newness with the repetition, rediscover what we're being given. Another example is, say you tell someone you love them. I love you. Same 3 words. Hopefully you get to say that a lot in your life, and you do say it a lot in your life. I love you. Isn't that new each time you say it? Isn't there something different about it each time you say it, to each person, to different circumstance? So this practice of attending and cultivating gratitude is a vital, sturdy practice with heft and substance to it. It's something we can carry everywhere. It's something we can repeat over and over and over again. It's something that gives respect and dignity and gratitude to every aspect of our life. It sustains being alive. And it gives us stability even in challenging times. This is not rocket science. And you don't need to be a saint. Just persist with a kind spirit and turn toward the world with this practice. As we do this, we realize that our Zen teachings challenge us to realize a radical gratitude with an intelligent base of knowing on in our bones, and expressing that in our actions. We cultivate gratitude for all aspects of our life, not just those things that seem to support us, but also the things that challenge us. At least we give it a chance to say, what am I thankful for in this? Not in a silly way, but what actually can grow from this? So we focus this in our lives and we expand it to think of our ancestors, our personal ancestors, all of our ancestors, the ancestors of this land, the ancestors that have given us songs and love and just life, all who have gone before that make our lives possible. We consider their gifts to us and the ways in which they were blind to things that count. Think of all the beings, living and non-living, that have gone before, and those that share our world now. We are the inheritors of it all. What we do with all that we have received is up to us. Do we grow in wisdom? In a wisdom that serves? Or delusion, greed, separation, and all the ills that plague us? The ability to grow and express wisdom and grace in this world is fueled and guided by gratitude. the capacity to know that we are a part of a living whole that supports us in every way. As we taste the way in which this practice transforms our life, we turn toward it. It's kind of positive feedback loop, right? We turn towards something, it nourishes and sustains us, it gives us life, and we're grateful. So we turn towards it again. We don't ignore difficulty or sadness or distress. Quite the opposite. With this perspective, we know on. And this roots us in a calm and stable mind. And from that calm mind, we can proceed in our lives in a way that includes everything. Suzuki Roshi said to Ed Brown, who wrote the Tassajara cookbook. It was a quick story. So Ed Brown was really angry. His life has been like a long, intimate encounter with anger and wisdom. So he was head cook at Tassajara, and he was really angry about what was going on in the kitchen. So he went to Suzuki Roshi to complain. And told him all was wrong, everything that was going wrong. And Suzuki Roshi said, this is from Edward, it takes a calm mind to see virtue. It takes a calm mind to see virtue. So when we take up this very simple practice of gratitude, there's a stability that comes with it. As we know our interwovenness, there's a stability and calmness that we can have. And therefore, we can see virtue more clearly. This is a basis on which we can live with others in sanity and balance and give to others with freedom and enjoyment. We do not need to gain anything with our giving. We know that we're not the source of giving. Life is what is the source of giving. And with this, we can also recognize our limitations, our humanness, our frailty. That we are a part of the whole. The whole that expresses itself in our lives and in the lives of all the entities that are functioning in this world. In this way, we become grateful in our life. And there's nothing outside of our Thanksgiving. So I suggest we take time, at this time of year in particular, to establish ourselves in this concrete practice of cultivating gratitude. Number one, pay attention. Be mindful of all that is given to you in this moment. Pay attention to how you pay attention. So, especially when things are challenging. Number two, regard each thing, each aspect of your life as expressing its own nature. The bowl, the cup, the person in front of you. Cultivate a spaciousness in your mind and heart that allows gratitude some room to breathe, to grow, and come forward. It's helpful sometimes to consider specific things that we're grateful for to cultivate this. Start with something easy. This is the basis of all of these kinds of practice. Start with something easy and then stretch yourself. Maybe you can extend a little bit more. So when we close today with this part, we're going to do a simplified version of the Bodhisattva ceremony, the ceremony in which we renew our dedication to a path of awakening. It's about 10 minutes long. And before we start the ceremony, I'd like you to consider what you're grateful for and bring forward in your mind one or two things. And then we will chant the service together. There'll be some parts that I would say on my own, but basically there'll be a chant card and we'll do it together. And at the end, I'd like to invite each of you to say in one word or a few words what you held close in the ceremony. This way we infuse this ceremony of rededication with a sense of gratitude. Thank you. Questions?